Hey, did you get a shot, Brian, of the plant? Be uncluttered. Didn't used to be any of this high lines. These high lines come from Formosa. Part of these go to another plant down there at Alcoa, but these wires right here, and right underneath where you're standing, there's 4 pipelines that go to Formosa. There's the plant. That's what I get to look at when I look down to the south. I used to be able to look down there and not see anything but trees. See? That's just, I guess they call that progress. But the way the wind is blowing right now is blowing exactly straight from the plant right now. You can feel where it's coming from. Southeast is the prevailing wind. It comes right at us. So there's no way for me to get away from it unless I move. Yeah, we knew we was going to be affected by it when they decided to put in a plant. Didn't know anything about their history or anything. They bought, actually Alcoa brought those folks in here with some of the raw products that were byproducts of Alcoa. They were going to sell them some of their stuff, but once Alcoa found out how irresponsible they were going to be with that product, it was pretty deadly. It's chlorine. The deal was off. No more. They weren't going to sell them any chlorine, so they had to come up with their own either raw products or buy ethylene dichloride themselves, and that's what they did. The chlorine deal was off. They shut the pipeline down. They said, "No, we're not going to complete the pipeline. We're not selling you any chlorine," because of the way they shoddy workmanship and stuff that they did. So anyway, we knew there was going to be an impact, but we didn't know how much impact. Good gosh, we've got 2 big water lines now that feed that plant. We've got a 36 on this side of the road. The other side of the highway got a 54-inch water line. We got 4 pipelines right here. We got a high line. We got a railroad track on the other side, not this one here. This one here since I was a little kid. But way up in the middle of the pasture, we've got the other railroad. We got ditches cut all over our pastures, and everything's totally different, man. It's not anything like when I was growing up. So we knew the impact was going to be there. We just didn't realize how much of the impact. We didn't used to have any reason to have any alarms out here. We forced them to put in a landowner alarm system, which is a series of towers that have sirens on them, and they have voice over speakers. We forced them to put in all those things. We had to make them come up with a procedure on how to turn them on, because when they first came online, good gosh, they were waking us up all hours of the night with a dang thing. Anytime they had a little burp at the plant, somebody panicked and throw the button and god dang, it'd wake up everything in the whole world. So we had some meetings with them to force them into having some procedures as to when they were to use those things. And then they tested them about once a year, so we had to force that issue. Now they test them weekly, make sure they still work. It's pretty much been like trying to push a rope the whole time. Everything that happened, we've had to force it. So that's what most of my time's been spent. The last 25 years has been dealing with, besides raising cattle, obviously, has been with trying to get them to do what they said they were going to do by their contract. So, anyway.
Can I ask you, when they were beginning to make this facility in there, did they talk to the community about what exactly they're going to be producing?
Not that I know of.
Now, could you make a statement like that, because I'm not going to be in this?
You talked about all the impacts that you realized after the fact. Did they mention any impacts before? And if so, which ones did they mention?
Well, when they first put this plant in here, I wasn't living at the ranch. I was in college, and by the time I got here to the ranch, the first part of the plant was already built. They hadn't done much of an expansion at that point. They had a vinyl chloride plant, and then they had a PVC plant, and that was about all they had. Now they've got all kinds of plants down there. But my uncle tells me who's been here all his life. That when they came in, they thought that it was going to be a little old small plant. Actually, we thought where the plant is now was going to be mud pits for Alcoa. For years, that's what we thought it was going to be. Is settling pits for the bauxite. Well, when they heard the plant was coming up, it was going to be just a little small petrochemical plant. He didn't ever hear of any public meetings or anything that would have been on the scale that they do now. Nowadays, anytime, because we forced the issue, there have been groups that have forced the issue. Anytime that they go online with something or they plan a new expansion, there's public meetings. I guess the agencies that govern that, TCEQ and EPA, I guess there are increased requirements over what they used to have back in the 80s when this thing first came online. My uncle claims that there never were any public meetings and never was any dealing with the landowners, because at that time they didn't think they had to cross us with anything. And they didn't have any need to get across us to get extra water. They didn't have a need to do something with the extra waste heat generated electricity that they make. They didn't have any reason for a railroad track, because when the plant was first built, all of the products that they made, they shipped off someplace. Now, on the 4 miles on the other side of me, I've got a products facility where they make things out of plastic, PVC products and styrofoam products, everything with any kind of plastic that you can think of. They make products down there. So then when they started building those plants, then they started having a need to get some stuff down there, take some electricity down to those plants, take the product down there through the railroad track, pipe the stuff back and forth in these pipelines that we got. And again, we have two big water lines that were run down there from Lake Texana that take water down there because they use so much processed water. All the processed water that they use, it's got to go somewhere. It goes out in our bay after they get through using it. That's another thing that's got us all worried, and that's, I think, the basis for the new water study that they're going to do, shellfish study, and look at the effects on fish and shellfish in the bay. That's the next one. They already did some, during my herd study, they already did some initial sampling, and they found the same type of genetic damage in the oysters that they sampled that they found in the cattle. So that gives them a reason, I guess, the basis for the funding that's necessary to do the next study that I've heard about, and that is the shellfish study. That's what I know about that. But no, I know we didn't realize that the impact was going to be, it's just going to be another little old plant down here. You know, we've had Alcoa down there since about, I think 1956 is when they put that plant in down there. It never really affected us.
This is like 1981.
I think 80 or 81, because I went out there in 83 and worked. So early 80s, 80, 81 is when they went online with the initial plant, which again was a vinyl chloride plant that they needed to make the raw products for making PVC plastic. Boy, PVC is nasty stuff now. Anytime you mess around with anything that says vinyl in it, you're going to have vinyl chloride to get there. Vinyl chloride is, although I don't know all the things that are in my cattle, vinyl chloride is one of the things that's top of the list as far as being what causes the genetic damage that they found in my cattle.
Liver biopsy too.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So anyhow, back on the original question, the impact we're still realizing what the impact is on us. What it's eventually it's going to impact is I'll probably have to leave here, retire somewhere else. That's kind of sad.